Everything I've judged, I've had to go through, unfortunately. So I've stopped judging. I was like, God, I hear you, okay? Because I remember the very first time, for me growing up, if he was 1 year younger, he was a younger man, you know? And I remember you were there, his name shall not be mentioned.
Yes,
and I remember I would always see him and say, oh goodness, there was something about his aura. He's such a mature, gentle, everything I love, I'm not talking about my type per se, because I don't really have one, but I do, but it's more of an energetic type. He was very grounded, very masculine, very gentle, all the kind of qualities that I need, because I am feminine chaos most times, I'm like, hello, I'm really silly and playful and childish when I'm in a relationship. And so I like my partner to be the one that sort of anchors me a little bit and lets me kind of, be a kite. I'll be in the sky and you can hold me down. And he had all those qualities. And I'd been watching for a long time, and I kept saying to you, if I was 20 years younger or something, So he was just the guy. I'd always say, if I was 20 years younger, he'd be my husband. And I think I'd call him, oh, there's my husband. He'd walk into the room and I'd be like, there's my husband. And it was just that kind of relationship. And so I think one day, probably after a few months, maybe a year or so, you were talking to him. I hadn't ever spoken to him. I had no real reason to speak to him.
Oh, yes.
Yes, you remember? Yes, and this was in church. And
yeah.
It was after church. And you went off and you were speaking to him. Every woman deserves to feel valued, chosen, and cherished. But too many of us are left feeling forgotten, alone, and discarded. That's why the Finding Her campaign is on a mission to reach 1 billion women worldwide, creating a space where every woman finds her tribe and discovers her black swan magnificence. But we can't do it alone. Your support is crucial to make this vision a reality. You can make a difference by donating any amount of your choice or partnering with us monthly to ensure our work continues. Together, we can create a world where no woman is left behind. Join us in finding her, one woman at a time. Visit our website or click the link below to learn more. And I came to get you, and you guys went, as we do, because, Yvonne and I, we join in each other's banter. If I was talking to somebody, I'll join in. Oh, what are we talking about? It was one of those things. So, I went over. And the thing is, he wasn't God's gift at all, under any, he was not. And I think he was probably my height, and I'm 5'2". Maybe he was 2 inches taller than me, right? So we're not talking about, any physical qualities, because I've always said to people, I'm attracted to a person's energy, not the way they actually physically look. And you know that, because you're always like, oh, Chengi will fall in love with anybody who's talking to her.
Yes.
But it's really an energy, and I really loved his energy. It actually reminded me of my dad, because he had my dad's sort of energy. Anyway, I had zero idea in my head that I would, be having this conversation. So I think you asked him, does he have a girlfriend or something or the other? And he said, oh, actually, I don't know what he said, but he said, I date older women. So that was like, oh. And then he said, oh, and then he was like, yeah, I've always dated older women. I don't date women my age. And then I think he said something like, oh, my last girlfriend was like 27. And you said, how old were you? It's like 21. And you're like, oh, that's not too bad. And I said, yeah, for sure. Because so I said to you, tell him what I call him. And you said, my husband. I was like, yeah, I call you my husband. So we kind of had this laugh. And then he said, what did he say? He said, how old are you? So I was like, honey, I am 40 years old. That is too old for you. So we had a laugh. He was 27 at the time, and I was 40. I just turned 40. Zero. I didn't think anything of it until.
Neither did I.
Neither did you, yes.
And I'm usually quick on these things.
Exactly. You would tell you, because it was genuinely just chit chat, and in my mind I was like, oh, I get to talk to my husband, because I do that. I do this. Yeah. I've got a TV husband at the moment, don't I? Yes, I do these kind of silly things. And so, he called. I think we got involved in a church project together, and we started spending time together. And I remember thinking to myself, have you lost your damn mind? Because this is something really special that really made me see why older women end up with younger men and what's really going on that nobody gets to see. He actually called me and he said, I've never had such an honest, open, mature conversation with a man. And I'm 46. other than that one guy. Like, he literally called me and he said, look, you're like uber gorgeous. I'm totally into you. And I realized that I'm young, and I think he was a doctor, and everything about his life was grown man, right? His life was together. Okay. And he said, but I know that I can never take you home to my mom and tell my mom this is my girlfriend and you're literally like 15 years younger. I think his mom was probably 55 at the time. And he said, but I would take care of you and I'll be whatever, but basically he was very honest. This is what I can offer you, but I can't marry you. Like, that was that. So I thought, all right, and then we'll be friends. In my head, I was so naive. I thought, okay, cool, we'll be friends. I was like, oh, that's so sweet. And then, we're talking. I think we spoke on the phone for probably like 4 hours. So when people say, what does a 27-year-old got to talk to a 40-year-old about? You'll be surprised. Yes. We were on the phone for 4 hours on that first call. And then we just started speaking every day. We just became so close. Mm-hmm. And there was such a powerful connection between us. And I think we went on one date. And then we just had to cut it out. I really honestly couldn't get my head around the maths of it. This was like a 6-month job, but I couldn't get my head
anything about it.
Oh yeah, I didn't. There was nothing ever happened between us. Other than that one date, nothing ever really happened between us. Other than this really powerful connection, this real connection of stories. And, it's not about, oh, I run a business and you're a doctor, what do we have in common? It's about heart stories, it's understanding each other's trauma and really being seen, right? And I think sometimes it takes somebody outside of your normal to see you. Because I think in my whole world, I was seen as the influence of the relationship person. And I think most people see me as what I do. But in that moment, he saw me for who I was. Yeah. And it was so nice to be seen and to be heard and to be known and to be understood, right? And so, whilst the deal wasn't right for me and it ultimately wasn't right for him, I do remember really grieving the potential of that relationship. Yeah. He went on and married somebody who was age appropriate
in inverted commas.
Yes. And they went on to create the life that him and I used to daydream about. So that was really quite painful. And I think people don't really understand what you have to give up, and they went and created that life, and that didn't work for him, but I always knew it wouldn't, because when I met him, I knew that he couldn't be with what the world needed him to be with. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I hear
he
that.
He was such a special human, and he would have had to find another me, and there's only one me. So, but I knew that he would have had to go for an older woman. He just had to. But his culture, his system, his society, and then he came back into my life probably like 10 years later, and he wanted back in, and it was like, I'm older now. I'm in my 30s. Can we? And I that was just a different time and a different season, and that had to go. But I think that lends to perhaps giving insight to people about the layers to the conversation. From the outside, you'd be like, oh, he just wants to have sex with her. He just wants to sleep with her because she's easy. I am not easy. Okay. But it really was a hard connection. So from that point, my judgment fell. That was it. Yeah. From that point, I knew that even though I didn't explore that journey, I wasn't going to disqualify partners because they were younger.
I hear what you're saying, and why it's the shift of the minds, because if you're coming out of a marriage where your husband never saw you, and not only did he not see you, you were there to have his children, clean his house, do the dinners, go away on the obligatory holiday, and he would you would have intimacy once a week, and you're supposed to do
thank you
and that's it.
And
to have someone pay attention to
Yes.
you.
Yes.
That's something that a lot of women who have come out of divorces, who are separated, have not had for years.
Yes.
And they are starved of somebody just giving them eye contact
Yes.
and listening to what they're saying.
Yes.
Even all she's doing is ordering a meal.
Right.
You know, she's
Right.
not had that before. And
Yeah.
that is an aphrodisiac. When
Right.
you had it with your husband at the beginning, when you first started dating,
Yes.
and then we become complacent.
Yeah.
And then the marriage doesn't work out. He's found himself a new person, and you're supposed to sit there and shrivel.
Right.
You know, this is why I think that it is more accepted now, because as we get older, we understand what we as women go through when our men do work.
Right.
You take care of the children, they do work and bring the money home and,
Yes.
you know, make sure the house is in order, etc. But it's at a cost, and the cost is you. The cost
Right.
is your relationship, and the cost is everything that goes around that.
Right.
And then the divorce happens. And what are you supposed to do? You're still young, you're still fit, you're doing the things you're supposed to do. So do you sit there and shrivel up? Just because a young man now looks at you and wants to talk to you.
Yes,
you
and
know?
I think a lot of women are
And
shriveling up because they don't want to. And I'll tell you one thing as well that's really probably unspoken and unsaid is, and I think what people interpret as, oh, she's taking advantage of his youth.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't particularly say taking advantage, but I would say that there's something so pure and unjaded about a younger man, even
Yes.
though he feels like he has lived a little, he
Yes.
hasn't. And there's something, what allows him to see you is his inexperience.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
Yes.
Like he's not coming at it from, he's not some divorced guy
Yeah.
who's bitter
Yes.
and angry.
jaded.
He's not jaded.
Yeah, life hasn't
you know,
done
the
him
best
yet.
he's been doing is
Yes.
playing game on a few young
Yes.
girls, you know,
Yes.
and, you know, his dad and his mom get on his
Yes.
nerves. Like,
Yeah.
you know, he hasn't, you know, men don't do well with divorce and they don't do well with breakups and it really kind of damages them in a way that women bounce back quite
Yes.
easily. Not easily, but we bounce back. And, you know, a younger man just hasn't been through those lives damaging,
Yes.
difficult things that darken his soul.
Yes.
And so as an older woman, you've been through all of that. You've been through the damaging, the breaking, all of that. And you're kind of having this opportunity, if you like, to relive your innocent days.
Yes.
To be
Yes.
to be young again.
Yes.
To be just Chengi.
Yes.
Right?
It's
like
the freedom that
you're
comes
just a
with
girl.
that, isn't it?
Yeah. You're
you know,
just
you
a
can
girl.
be you.
You're
Yeah.
literally just a girl. You're not like, you know, this embittered, you know, and I think that's the gift the younger man brings to the older woman. And the older woman gives him the sense of, I accept you and I appreciate you. It's such a wonderful synergy and connection. And, you know, that kind of led to unconsciously me spending all of my 40s dating men that were younger than me. And what's really interesting is I didn't go looking for them.
Yeah.
Right? And it's really funny because a lot of women hit 40 and men their age lose interest. Because guess what? Men who are our age are looking for the 20-year-olds and the
Yes.
30-year-olds.
Yes.
So I kind of got to a stage, and the thing with me as well is I meet my men in real life. And the situation is they think I'm their age.
Yeah.
The guy after him, I think he was 10 years younger. And he was like, you're not my age? I'm like, it's 3 months later and I have never hidden my age. But I think cognitively it couldn't, because I talk about my age everywhere all the time. But in his mind, but you look my age though.
Yeah.
So he was like, but you're my age. I'm like, no, honey. You know, and I think it had been something I'd said to him, you should be with my sister, because my sister was dating an older guy who was probably age appropriate for me. I think he was probably like in his late 40s, 50s. So she was dating that guy. And I was dating somebody who was younger than me. So I was actually laughing and I was like, it's really weird because we're all kind of in the same room. And I said to him, babe, isn't it weird? You should really be dating my sister and I should be dating her boyfriend. And he was like, why? I was like, because it's age appropriate. And he was like, what are you talking about? I'm like, how old do you think I am? He hadn't it didn't compute to him because he thought, well, she doesn't look that old. So, you know, it became a thing where if I'm on the streets, it's usually younger men that are going to approach me, like pretty much 95% of the time. If I'm online, maybe it's going to be men who are more age appropriate. But even them, I think I went on one date with a man that would be age appropriate. And I'm putting that in inverted commas. And he was 50. And you know that story.
Yes.
I was like, you know, I kept going, God, please, can you just bring me a man my age? Because quite frankly, I don't like complication. You know, I don't want to have to explain to some young man's mother why he loves me and why I'm not exploiting him.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people don't realize that these young men pursue you.
Yes.
Like they hunt you down. Yeah. A lot of people think the older woman is out here looking for younger men, you know, disqualifying men her age. No, honey. They're like persistent, you know, and
they've got the energy for
oh gosh, they've got the energy and they're focused. You know, they're focused and they're like, baby, no, we're not doing that. Yeah. Because the thing is, as much as I enjoy their lack of jadedness, it's also what makes me not want to necessarily be with them long term, or because there's something about a man that's lived.
Yes.
You know, when there's a responsibility and there's a gravitas to a man who's been through the fire, the wind, the rain, and still managed to come out on the other side as a loving whole being.
Yes.
And, you know, there's something in that for me. And I feel like younger men just haven't been through life. Life just hasn't done it. So when relationship stuff happens in a older woman, younger man relationship dynamic, he can't handle it.
Yes.
He can't handle the hard conversations. Yeah. So for me, it's kind of like, I keep saying, okay, God, I'm done. Don't you dare.
And then what happened? We dive back in.
But yeah, I think I would definitely, I like the idea of dating somebody who is in a similar age bracket, you know, maybe somebody in his 40s. I'll probably go down 7 years now, maybe not so much 10, because I think that person would be in their 40s. And I think what I would appreciate is somebody who's been married, who's had their kids, who's had my story. I think we would understand each other and appreciate what we found way more than when you've never really had it.
I hear that, but you know, here's the thing. We think we know what we want until we have it.
Right.
And then when we get it, we really don't want it. And then when we don't get it, we really want it.
Right.
You know, so where it's, you know, we seem to be at a crossroads all the time with what we want and what we don't want.
Yeah.
And I think if you're, you know, I'm only going to do that, or he should be in this bracket on this and this and this.
Yeah.
My thing is, you know what? Let go and let whoever comes along. As long as you do your vetting, as long as you make sure that your core needs are met.
Yes.
And for those of you who don't understand what it is I'm talking about, please visit our website and have a look at our dating playbook. And that will give you all the tips and things that you need when you're out there in the dating field.
Absolutely.
But as long as you make sure that that person is meeting your core needs and, you know, they're not encouraging you to move your boundary lines and do any of those things, you know what? Enjoy the person for, as you know, whatever time the relationship is, because until you get to know a person, you don't know whether they're your person or not.
Absolutely.
Everything on the outside looks wonderful when we find it, when we see it.
Yeah.
And when you're waiting for somebody and you've been waiting for a long time, you can get a little jaded in your waiting. So something comes along and you think, my God, I've got a live one. You may do, but it's not your live one.
Yes.
And you jump straight in and, you know, he mentions the word wife or marriage and you think, I've got it. And 5 years later, he's still hinting that you may be the one.
And then, you know what happens? I've got a friend who was dating a younger guy, and, you know, after 5 years, like he said, well, I can't marry you. My family will never accept it. I'm like, he didn't know that in the 5 years that he wasn't going to. You know, I think that, you know, to be fair, I agree. And and Yvonne's an encourager. The last time, I think the last guy I dated was like, I was like, Yvonne, no. You never guess who I met today. I was just minding my own business, and this fine-looking young man, you know. And when he was walking up to me, I was like, oh, not another baby. You know? You know? But he was like a man, you know, he was confident and he was, you know, and usually the younger men that approach me, their lives, they're together.
Yeah.
They're grown men, you
Yeah.
know, but they're still like, I was like, oh no. You know, I actually said to him, you know, I said, how old are you? You know, because normally I'm quite charming and sweet and play, because I'm really very silly. And he was like, you know, I'm 34. I was like, introduce me to your dad. So he was like, why? I'm like, because that's age appropriate, sir. and he said something like, oh, don't be silly, you're younger than me. I was like, oh, good Lord. You know, because I think I actually look so much younger with no makeup on, because when I'm not wearing makeup, it's even worse. Like, it's like, and, you know, I remember going home and telling Yvonne, by the way, because your coach is naughty, don't mind her, she's sitting there. And she's...
I'm not.
She is. So I said, oh, Yvonne, oh my God, 34, for goodness sakes, you know. And Yvonne was like, all I hear is a man talking to a woman.
But it's
like,
true.
that's all I hear is a man talking to a woman.
So
I was like, oh
true.
gosh, I can't do this.
No, he's not declaring undying love.
And Coach Nadine was actually on a video call with me when he walked up to me. So Coach Nadine is like, oh, for goodness sakes, Chengi, you're going to end up with a younger guy. I'm like, no, just a little bit older, you know. And I think I'm very much a very old soul with a young spirit,
Yes.
you know. I think, and I can understand why that energy comes to me, because I'm super playful and really silly. And I like, you know, I'm really... it's a part of me that you're going to meet in person. You won't meet it so much on social media, but I'm ridiculously playful and very silly. And, you know, I'm like an 18-year-old in my head. But I also have a very deep and very, you know, a very deep soul. And you know, so I live in these two paradoxes. And so like you said, I think it's really about our audience, myself, anybody who's single, really making sure that we do due diligence.
Yes.
You know, all of the protocols that we've set up in the dating playbook and the relationship academy apply to everybody, regardless of how old or young they are, because the reality of is maturity doesn't come in age. You know, maturity is something that we decide to be, and things we put away, and things we embrace, responsibilities we embrace. And like my 27-year-old, when I was 40, way more mature than any man I've met to date. And, you know, you realize that, you know, let's vet them, let's select them. And, you know, I have done a few videos on this channel, on at least 4 of them, where we explore some of the dangers that come particularly with dating younger men, some of the things we need to watch out for, some wounds, some things that we're not going to explore because I've already spoken about them. So if you want to know what to watch out for, what is happening psychologically with him, is he looking for a mother figure? Is he just looking to get laid? Is he looking for a purse? You know, all of those things that we kind of have to think about. We can't ignore them. There are certain things that come with dating outside of the norm, if you like. Whenever we kind of go a little bit off center, there are some things, whether it's age or different race or different creed or different religion, whenever we go off center and we do something different, there are certain proclivities and certain little nuances that we must pay close attention to. So we've got 4 videos on this channel where we explore this in depth, but it was just really good for us to kind of talk about, you know, give people... I remember one of the videos I got told off so badly by these older women. They were like, you was just so close-minded. And I was thinking, honey, you have no idea that I only ever date younger men, and I'm trying to get out of this rut, you know. I am not close-minded, but I am very sober about the realities of being with a younger man. And so it was good for everybody to actually know that, yes, Chengi has and does date younger men. I'm not judging when I'm telling the truth, okay? And also just to really... for those of us who are like yourself or how we were, maybe perhaps opening their minds. And when I do these conversations on Instagram or here, what I do get in my inbox, a lot of women saying, thank you so much for doing this, because I thought I was losing my mind. You know, I'm in love with a guy who's this much younger, and you know, and sort of navigating issues of fertility, family, those kind of difficult conversations that come with it. And so I hope that those of you who are in these age gap relationships, and there are very many, I get a lot of them on my desk. If you're navigating an age gap relationship and you need some hand holding and you need somebody to help you navigate that space, not only can you get onto the courses, you can absolutely book a call, and all of the links will be in the description below. We're here to help you navigate whatever relationship dynamic you have, especially if you're dealing with a younger man. And so I think we might have to end this one because we've just talked it to death. But we are going to be talking about more relationships outside of the relationship box that we have known, because so many of us are navigating relationships in the 21st century in a way that is unprecedented.
Yes.
We are having to navigate feminine providers. So we're going to be going through that. We're going to be talking about living in different homes. What does that look like to be married and sleeping in separate bedrooms, sleeping in separate beds, having two separate homes, right? There's all of that to come as we continue our conversations on our next podcast, and even really exploring mating versus marriage, and what that means, and what we think about that now, and where we're going, because there's so many nuances in relationships that we want to be able to help those of you who feel a little bit lost in the forest of relationships. And I hope that this video was really helpful. If you've got any questions, do leave them in the comments section. And Yvonne, do you have any final words to say?
My final word is that, you know what? Regardless of what they say, these are the naysayers and those some within your friendship group and those outside, because everyone always has an opinion about somebody else's relationship. The only opinion that matters is yours and his.
Right.
As long as no one is getting hurt here, both people want to be with each other. And if you're enjoying the relationship and he's enjoying the relationship with you, then, honey,
live your best life.
Please, yes. Because you know what? In order for you to have been there and be the age that you're at, and a younger person approaches you, my friend, you're looking wonderful. Yeah. Continue on with being your wonderful self. Continue loving yourself. And, this could go somewhere that nobody ever thought it was going to go. And you could be the one that is married and having a wonderful time. And they're looking over there jealous, but can't say a word. And who does she think she is? You're the one that's having a wonderful time with your young husband, and look at theirs.
Exactly. Well, we are not promoting it, and we're not advocating for it, but we are saying that if you are in this dynamic and you need our help, we're here for you. We look forward to seeing you on our next video. But in the meantime, do take care of you. Love you lots.
Wonderful. Bye. See you soon.
Have you ever felt like there's something bigger waiting for you out there? Are you tired of feeling trapped behind a job you hate, longing for meaning in your life? If you find yourself constantly drawn into the world of relationships, offering advice and guidance to those around you, then listen up. I've got good news for you. You are the perfect candidate for our Black Swan Relationship Coaching Certification. Join our mission to teach 1 billion women and now men how to build healthy, fulfilling love lives. And the best part, you don't have to do it alone. When God gave me this assignment, I knew I couldn't do it alone. That's where you come in. We need 1 million coaches, and it starts with you enrolling in our Black Swan Professional Relationship Coaching course. In this course, you will learn everything about relationship coaching using our signature Soulmate Attraction System course. That's responsible for countless transformations at the Black Swan Relationship Academy, and will guide you on how to set up your practice, providing support every step of the way. So if you're ready to make a difference, join us. Enroll in our Black Swan Professional Relationship Coaching today, and let's fulfill this great commission together. Visit our website or click the link around this video to learn more. Don't wait any longer to pursue your passion and impact lives through relationships.